Ben Shapiro has gone after Neil deGrasse Tyson yet again. A very odd one because Neil deGrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist while Ben Shapiro is a lawyer. So there would have to be something kind of colliding there for him to go after him, which is something that makes it very odd for me. And I've seen him attack him on many different occasions. But we're going to be looking at something here. So Neil deGrasse Tyson made this video talking about climate change and how there is constant denial of evidence that is happening, and a lot of people even denying the 97% of scientific papers saying that there is man-made climate change in the study that was conducted. Now people are going to say, oh, consensus isn't science. Hey, this is the thing. You say that it's consensus, but it's not 90. The framing of 97% of scientists is actually wrong. It's 97% of those papers on climate change state that there is man-made climate change. So that is not consensus of people. That is what the vast majority of data proves, which is what science is. It's data and evidence, right? So anyway, so Ben Shapiro here in this clip you're going to see is going to say that, basically his whole crux is Neil deGrasse Tyson is this narcissist, and he thinks that you should be teaching, the people in your local communities what he thinks. Check that out.
Example, what Pence is saying here. Now, what Pence is saying here is that it's not forbidden for creationism to be taught in local schools. We shouldn't be saying that evolution is the only way to think about things. Godless evolution is the only way to think about things. I may disagree with Mike Pence. In fact, when it comes to the teaching of science and the teaching of creationism, I don't think they're incompatible, but I also am not sure that creationism should be taught in science class because I don't think it's a scientifically provable hypothesis. That being said, it is not my job to say to the American people that you on a local level cannot vote for how to raise your children. Neil deGrasse Tyson thinks that he should be able to tell you what your kids should learn and not learn. He's not worried about an informed democracy. Again, when Mike Pence says, let us demand that educators around America teach evolution not as fact but as theory, what he's really saying is, let's stop using the federal government to cram down our version of what we think is true on local communities. I may believe in evolution the same way that DeGrasse Tyson does. But Pence is not wrong in the sense that it is a scientific theory, just as all theories are scientific theories. This has a lot of evidence to back it. It's a theory that is certainly not evidenceless. But the idea that schools should teach evolution exclusively in science and leave creationism for Bible class, I may agree with it. In a consenting democracy, people get to vote for what they want, and they may be informed about Neil deGrasse Tyson's opinions on evolution, and they can still deny it. Okay, even if they don't like what he's saying, they still have the right to deny it, and they have the right to raise their children as they see fit on this score without reference to Neil deGrasse Tyson's opinions. Again, consent. He may not like it because he thinks that consent actually requires the children not learn, but it's that same consent that allows us to have a free country that allows for all the sorts of economic and scientific development that have occurred over time.
Okay, that was probably one of the craziest points of this whole thing. That was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. So the idea that you should be able to democratically vote to be able to teach the people in the classroom that 2 + 2 = 5 is ridiculous. And I definitely see him tiptoeing on a lot of different things. So, and he also is completely oblivious to the definition of a theory in science. The Alex Jones conspiracy theory is not the same as a scientific theory. And he does say that it's definitely not evidenceless. The truth is that there's massive evidence to show that evolution occurs through experiments that they have done, and we have things like fossils and carbon dating, etc., etc. I will leave that to the scientists, of course. The idea again that you can just have local communities vote to teach their kids creationism in science classes, the idea that creationism should be taught in science classes is absolutely absurd, and I can't believe that anybody would actually say this, as well as being oblivious of the definition of a theory in science as compared to Alex Jones's conspiracy theories. And this whole thing is just so stupid. Now, what you're going to be seeing here is Ben Shapiro will say that he's going to go on to basically say that Neil deGrasse Tyson is this, this big lefty and all this different stuff. He seems to conflate Neil deGrasse Tyson with somebody who is of the left-wing ideology. He may oppose right-wing politicians, because of their denial of science or evolution, as all of the Republican candidates denied evolution, this is going to be something that he conflates, and he's putting words in his mouth, and he's creating a straw man here, because that's not what Neil deGrasse Tyson is. He is not a leftist. He is not a left-wing person. In fact, it seems to be that he's pretty centrist when it comes to, or pretty neutral, I should say, not centrist, when it comes to political ideas. So check out that clip here.
That humans are warming the planet, you can then have a political conversation about that. You can say, well, are there carbon credits? Do we do this? Do we put a tariff on, do we subsidize? Those have political answers. And every minute one is in denial, you are delaying the political solution that should have been established years ago. As a voter, as a citizen, scientific issues will come before you. And isn't it worth it to say, all right, let me at least become scientifically literate so that I can think about these issues and act intelligently upon them. Recognize what science is and allow it to be what it can and should be in the service of civilization.
And what I love about this is that you see all these beautiful pictures of the American cities from at night over sky. You see the electricity throughout the American cities. What he doesn't say is that his solutions on global warming would likely shut down some of those cities, right? You see some of the electricity go out. This idea that the left likes to put out there, that they are just pro-science and you are just anti-science if you disagree with their solutions, that's the problem. I can agree with Neil deGrasse Tyson on evolution. I can agree with Neil deGrasse Tyson that the world is warming and that human activity has something to do with that. I don't have to agree on the solutions that he proposes. But if I don't agree on the solutions that he proposes, I assume he'll call me a denialist, because obviously if I knew science, then I would agree with him.
Okay, so you have to notice the massive straw man. You know, the whole video that he goes through, Neil deGrasse Tyson is not sitting there spouting what his beliefs are for the solution, what the solutions that he believes in are that should be used. And Ben Shapiro, again, creating a straw man here. Neil deGrasse Tyson is not spouting what he actually thinks are the solutions. And he did not say, this is a blatant straw man, that, hey, if you don't agree with my solutions, then you are a denier. That is the biggest straw man I've ever seen on planet Earth. What he's saying is, and there's going to be a video going up, because I just talked about tomorrow about how Neil deGrasse Tyson was on Fareed Zakaria, and he says, hey, you know, we can have the debate as to what the solutions are once you stop denying the science of it, because we've seen Hurricane Irma, we've seen Hurricane Harvey, we've seen Hurricane Jose, now there's Hurricane Maria, there was an 8.1 earthquake in Mexico and wildfires everywhere and all this crazy shit. And so Neil deGrasse Tyson is not saying that, hey, if you don't believe in my solutions, then you are a climate change or science denier. But rather he is saying that if you deny the science and saying that, no, it is not man-made or it's not crazy, then you are a denier, which is right. Now, Ben Shapiro is completely lying out of his asshole here. Neil deGrasse Tyson never stated that in a sentence ever, that if you don't agree with my solutions, you are a climate change denier. And then Ben Shapiro goes back into his fucking into his right-wing pundit phase and says, oh, the left and abortion and transgenderism and all this stupid shit. But anyways, this is just blatant straw mans against Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I'm not really sure why a lawyer is really going after a scientist this hard, because I know that Neil deGrasse Tyson would eat you up for lunch in a debate, dude.